Hey, good morning. Hey, good morning. It's 5 a.m. Mester Scrum. I hope you're doing well. It is Saturday. What is it, the 4th? And it's just about to hit 6 o'clock. So we just made it underneath the time. I've been up doing a couple things, just prepping for this. It's Saturday. This is 5 a.m. Mester Scrum. Hope you're doing well. And here we talk about Scrum and Agile in a tactical and practical sense, and to get you home to your family and friends, and to grow your business, maybe grow your own personal income, and then do it with less stress and balancing work and life. And that's our goal, to help you be able to do that and have some fun along the way. And today, I just wanted to talk about this, episode 166, by the way. And I'll put some posts out today. I can do some more work this weekend. And the other day, I put a top 5 thing for new Scrum Masters to do. And as you saw in the intro, I just want to talk about number 1, make some plans, right? Our goals for the next 6 months. And I also want to talk about one activity I had yesterday, because I figured it's always interesting that you get those good stories, you get the bad stories. I get bad story. So I'll give you the bad story first. And it was a bad story, but it was interesting. So I had one of my senior people yesterday go up to me and said, well, I overheard a conversation, and he says, "Hey, we haven't done Agile in 6 months." And he knew I heard it. And he said it on purpose. It was funny. He was like, "Yeah, I get the coach here perked up," and it was sad, funny, interesting. He said that, and I'm thinking to myself, "Yeah, I know you haven't, right?" And then we go into this thing about what he's really doing. And I said, "What you're doing right now is nothing. You have no discipline, no format, no organization. You're not even doing waterfall." I said, "Because I've been doing this for 30 years. It's like, I'm not a kid." That's for me. I'm not a kid doing this stuff, right? And I can read this stuff. I said, and I told him, I went into him. I said, "You know what?" I said, "It ain't Agile. And what you're doing is," I went, boom, 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 boom. "This is what you're doing." He's like, "Yep, that's what we're doing." And I said, "Yeah, and it's all screwed up too." And he's like, "Yep." So I love it when they brag. People brag, "Well, we're not doing Agile, and I've been fighting it from tooth and nail." And I said, "Right now, you're a mess." And then they admit to it that they're a mess, whether with or without Agile, and they have no organization, no planning, no capability, no methodology behind what they're doing, or no systematic way of getting to the end. They're just doing, right? And it's all over the place. And I went to talk about the product owners, and we talked about it. And then one of the interesting things, he had an issue. He was doing that. We talked about this in the show before. So this is probably topic 1, that interaction, but it got to a good point. So when we went there, we had the conflict, right? And it was just like, "Yeah, you're not doing Agile. You ain't doing nothing." And then I got to the point where we're talking about what's going wrong. And of course, I know what's going wrong. So I'm paying attention. And he says, they did all this work and the customer's coming back. "Well, this is not what we wanted, right?" And he's like, "Well, you approved it. You accepted the stories. You did it." And it turned out, I said, "Yeah, keep talking, keep talking." And he's like, "Yeah, you accepted the stories." And I'm like, "Yeah, huh?" And I said, but then the customer's like, "But that's not what I wanted. So why are you accepting the stories?" And then it turned out that his business side wasn't even logging into the system to see what the changes were. And I go, bingo, right? This is because I know, and I try to tell these guys. And so I gave him a suggestion, and he liked it. I said, instead of I told him, "Don't you ever demo your software again. Don't tell your BAs, tell your test people for you never to run the demo for your business people again." He's like, "What?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Get the customer to run the demo for you. This way they have no excuse to ever saying, 'Well, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was,' or it doesn't give them the ability to accept a story or accept a piece of work and not really review it. By making them run the software program in there, there's no question they did not run the software. They did not see how it operated. They didn't experience it. Then when they accept it, they can tell you then and there what is going on." And he liked that idea. So sometimes in coaching, right, you get this conflict and then you kind of walk them through what's going on. And then you go, oh, by the way, why don't you try this? And he liked it, right? So it goes from conflict to let me do it. I hope he does it. I don't know if he's going to do it because when a lot of people in this world are stubborn as all be, man. Stubborn mules, right? They don't do what you want to. He suggests, he says, I'm going to do it myself. I'm not going to do anything. You get nothing, right? So, but the good story, part of the story was the fact that you use one of the techniques where you do not demo for your customer. You give the keys to the demo, keys to your software to the customer to run it. You'll collect more information. You'll verify. You'll know that they're involved, especially in this WebEx world where your POs and your customer people aren't in the same room as everyone. I mean, if you're in the same room, you're in the same room. There's nothing you can argue. But if you're doing a WebEx, let them run the software. There's no reason why they can't run the software. And if you're afraid of them running the software, tells me that there's something wrong with your software that you know about that you don't want anybody else to know about, and you're afraid they're going to hit it, right? Hey, okay. So that was the bad. I just wanted to share that story because sometimes you get that, but I'm going to tell you, you have to have the credentials, the knowledge to be able to stand up to people that are strong-willed sometimes. Me, I've been doing this for 30 years. Program manager, project manager, scrum master, agile coach. I've gone through the gamut. I've seen it all, and I've seen where stuff doesn't work. Right? They don't deliver. They don't because they're all flopping around everywhere. Someone has to be an organization. And what the beauty of Scrum and Agile, Scrum has you put context and organizational flow and the Agile techniques of how to get the work broken down. It gives you a direction and a shape to where you want to go. It helps you move along. Otherwise, you're just spinning around the air, right? You're just spinning. So I wanted to share that with you. The other thing talking about is the goals, right? So I think I'm going to take the 5 items. So we talked about top 5 yesterday. And I think I'm going to go in the 5 items and kind of break them down a little bit in a couple of shows. So in this show, I just want to talk about item 1, goals for the next 6 months, right? So I wrote a couple things in my nice new notebook that I got the other day. 1, buy a notebook so you can figure out your trends, what you're going to do over the next 6 months. In LinkedIn, I would connect to Scrum Masters in the area just to build some connections. And the reason being is if you're thinking about transferring to a new activity, and be honest with them, say, hey, I'm trying to learn about Scrum and Agile. So you're a Scrum Master in the area. I just want to connect and see if there's anything good. And there's certain things in LinkedIn you have to watch out for. There's a lot of people in LinkedIn, but they don't interact. So you might want to look see if there's any activity for that Scrum Master so that if they have some activities, they kind of comment on stuff and you learn what's going on. The other benefit of doing that is connecting with them gets you to the recruiters and the potential jobs and other people that are looking for Scrum Masters. So it'll get you there, right? Read 2 books. At least if you haven't read this book, Scrum, The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time, I would recommend this for a new Scrum Master. It's a great book. Well, it's a good book, right? It's true, and how it happens. They talked about some good stuff. And Jeff Sutherland, when he wrote this, I mean, it's a really good book. And the other book I would get is Coaching Agile Teams, right? This gives you a lot of information on how to be a Scrum Master, how to coach, because a Scrum Master is a coach too. They coach a little bit on the teams, and this book by Lisa Atkins is a good book, Coaching the Agile Teams. Definitely, if you read those two books in the 6 months, if you already read them, that's great. There's a bunch of other books out there. I saw a couple posts on LinkedIn from people that are Scrum Masters that are putting up reading lists. But those are 2 books for a new Scrum Master to come on board. Read those 2 books. And then the other thing I would say is on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, they have a learning site, and if you're paying for it, like me, you get access to those learning materials. There is a DevOps class that they do. I would just take the LinkedIn courses. They're free. You already paid for them. So go through them over the next 6 months. See how many you go through. Definitely learn about DevOps. DevOps is something new. It's been around for a while, to be honest with you. The techniques and tools have been there. They're just becoming more mainstream now. It gives you a good background on how that works. So definitely take a DevOps class. And then the last thing I want to talk about. So I'm going to do 6 things. The last thing I want to talk about is do your finances. So if you're ever thinking about doing a career change, and one day I will do how to do your finance planning, how to do that. Look at how much it costs you for health. You got your current job. Look at healthcare. Look at your benefits. Look at holiday vacation. Look at your rates. And I'll go into that in another article on how to break all that down. But you might want to start doing your budget, right? Find out how much money you need to pay all your bills. Make sure you know what kind of rate you want to get to pay your bills for your standard of living. You might have to cut back your standard of living, especially if you're jumping from one place to another just to get you started in the Scrum. You might have to take a cut, but make sure you know how much money you want to make, right? So you don't take a job, especially if you work at a company. And I have to do a whole thing on this. If you work at a full-time company, and then there's a lot of consultant contractor jobs out there, and it may look good, like, oh man, they make a lot of dollars an hour. Yeah, it doesn't include vacation, doesn't include holidays, doesn't include your medical expenses, doesn't have a 401k usually. So you have to figure out how much all that stuff's worth to you, right? So when you figure out what you currently get paid now, you add all that stuff into what your total compensation package would be. It's good to know that going into, if you're going to start a new job and start into this world where there's a lot of consultants that are Scrum Masters. Um, it just gives you an idea because you don't want to go in cold. And then the last one other thing I want to say, do some interviews. If you go into Monster or Dice or any one of those places and you activate your resume, update your resume, you'll get calls from a bunch of people. Oh, Scrum Master, someone wants to be Scrum Master. I get Scrum Master jobs. Go start cutting. Do a couple interviews. It doesn't hurt. It's good to know what kind of questions people are gonna ask you. So when you really think you're ready to be a Scrum Master, you kind of been there a few times. Uh, the more, if you haven't done any interviews in a while, this is really helpful. So those a couple of things I would say for the next 6 months. These are the kind of things you want to do. Read some books, connect with other Scrum Masters, do some, I said, one other thing I did mention, do some local networking. Like I said, Agile Philly is what we have here in Philadelphia. They meet about once a month. It's free. You get to meet some other Scrum Masters, learn some things. I learned a lot when I first started doing that by attending Agile Philly meetings, just listening what's going. People were talking about how it's going, what's in these books. How do you apply what's in the books and what you're hearing? It's really good. And then do some LinkedIn classes on DevOps. Do some interviews, whether you get the job or not, just interview. But have a number. They might want you. You never know. You never know, right? And make sure you have your financial information figured out, what your budget is, what you think your rate would be, and have that ready. So with that, I'm going to leave that with you for today. 2 items. So the 2 items was, sometimes as an Agile coach, you get conflict, and then you work it. And like I said, my suggestion to them was never ever do a demo yourself ever again. Have your PO always demo, so that you know that they actually, when they accept the work, they're paying attention. It's true, they don't pay attention, but that's something you need to do. And then just a couple things for goals for a new Scrum Master getting into the business, something to do for the next 6 months, just to give you an idea. I don't want to give you nothing and say, hey, just make some goals. And some ideas, some goals you might have for the next 6 months, for anybody, actually. So with that, take care. Happy Scrumming. It is Saturday. It's the weekend. Enjoy. Do some reading. Maybe read one of those books. Order them from Amazon or something like that. And with that, you all take care. You have a great weekend. See you tomorrow on Sunday. And bye. See ya.